Hello and welcome to Geekatplay Studio. I'm Amy Chopin and we are bringing to you now the Discovering Daz Studio series of tutorials, and this is our first tutorial in this series. And we're just going to be going over the basics of using Daz Studio. Daz Studio is a free application that you can download from daz3d.com. Basically, you can use it to have figures, to pose your figures, to add hair and clothing. You'll have figures that are animals. You might not necessarily want hair on those. All sorts of fun things you can do in this program. You can either have a scene within it that you're rendering, or you can save the object that you create with all the poses and all the clothing so that you can use it within a different program. So this is just a really great tool to work with if you're doing 3D. Now, when you first open up Daz Studio, after you've downloaded it, you will come up with this figure. This is Victoria, and you'll watch her as she loads and as she gets her hair and the clothes and as it puts her into a pose. And Victoria is a figure. Figures are made up of 2 or more bones that can be posed. And at her feet, you'll see our is a ball, and that's a prop. And a prop really can't be posed, but it can be added into this with the model that you're working with. So we don't really want to use Victoria right now. We're going to add in different models, and so we can either click on this or click on File, New. And no, I don't want to save the changes before the scene. On your right here in the Quick Start interface is basically going to be, you're going to have this Quick Start tab, and it's going to have some different steps that basically give you a start, and we'll be going over some of the things that are in this. We won't be following this through, but we'll be giving you some of the same information in this discovering tutorials. So it's useful to have it here and in these tutorials. Now, we don't really want this particular interface, and this is the quick start interface, and so we can select a layout. We go into view and interface layout, and we're going to select our basic layout. I'll do apply and accept that. And the basic layout has these activity tabs that gives us several tools for us to use. We have the load activity tab, the pose animate activity tab, which we don't really have anything loaded in there yet, and the render tab, which is something we'll be working with much later on in this series. On the right, you have the new Daz, and it just gives you several different models, figures, props, several things that you can use in various applications that Daz has. So let's say you go to Daz 3D and you download a figure or some clothing for a figure, and you want to use it. The little button that you're going to want to do after you download that is you're going to want to click on this display the active tab options, and you want to search for content that you've downloaded. So that will help to bring it into the program that you have here. So I'm gonna load something that I have there that Daz has for you here. They have this Ico figure, Daz Ico 3, that we've gotten from them, and I click on that and I have her, and I can click on her and it will load it in, and it takes a little while. And now it's going to ask the poses outside of the limits, and every figure is given certain limits as to how the bones can be moved. It's just like every person's body is a little bit different. There could be animals that have different figures, different poses, lots of different kinds of figures. And in this case, the basic pose is gone outside the limits. You generally want to leave the limits on. So here she is, Ico, right in front of us. And you might want to take a better look at her. So I'm closing that for now. And you don't always want to see her up front. So here we have these buttons that you can change the camera If you click on this one, you can move her all around. If you click on this, you can pan it all around. You can zoom in and out. You can even tip her around. You know, and if I move her here, now if I've got her clear off screen and I want her back in the center, this is the button to push, and that basically puts her in the center. But if I say, well, really, I just want to see her in that front and center pose, that's the button to push, and we'll bring her back to that front and center that you had. You can also change the camera view. You have a perspective view, a front view, a left view. Now, what's the difference between this front view and this perspective view? The front view is what's called orthogonal. It means that there's no perspective in it. The back part of her is going to be the same size to the camera as the front part. To give you a better view of that, we can go to the bottom view, and you see that the hands are relatively the same size as the feet. They would be smaller if it were a perspective view. But here, this just gives you another really good way to look at your model, at your figure here, and to see if you're getting everything just exactly how you want it. In our next tutorial, we will be working with adding things like clothing and hair and doing just a little bit of posing. Thank you for watching this Geekatplay tutorial. If you have any questions or would like to know more about Daz Studio, please visit us on the web at www.geekatplay.com.